This is Soccer 101 with Moon and Rocchio.
Welcome back to Soccer 101 with Moon and Matt Rocchio. We are here. It is darn near the end of the regular MLS season. And I think we're just still on an absolute high with what St. Louis City SC has done for us, for this community, the players, the management, everybody. I mean, every time somebody starts asking me, hey, how's St. Louis? How's your soccer team doing? I heard incredible things. You know, it's like they put St. Louis on the map when it comes to soccer in the first season. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, St. Louis are already on the map in a soccer way, but we had to really make it official with the MLS team, and they sure as hell gave us a lot to talk about. This season's been so incredibly special, and it went by so quickly, despite the fact that there was that month break where, because of the League's Cup, we didn't really get to watch too much St. Louis City SC soccer, but nonetheless, just an incredibly special season. And obviously now we have a very special time coming up, on the horizon, the playoffs, our first chance to ever see the playoffs. We even got some debates getting kicked around as St. Louisans' own Pat Noonan kind of led the charge on saying, well, in soccer leagues, it's usually the league championships, usually that, the supporter shield is the most important thing. But I've got my eyes focused on the playoffs because this is Major League Soccer, and in Major League Soccer, that's who gets the MLS Cup, baby.
Yeah, but I mentioned what I said in the beginning because I have a couple friends that are, they're kind of into sports. They're really like football guys and baseball guys and typical American stuff. And a couple of them are from LA, a couple of them are from the Midwest, and some mountain guys, all mentioning St. Louis because they're kind of like playoff folks. You know what I mean? Like they don't pay attention to baseball till playoff baseball. And now that it's all playoff, a lot of teams were eliminated this last week. A lot of people that were scratching for it and trying to get in there just aren't getting the playoffs. So all the brackets are starting to be filled. And everybody's like, well, look at that St. Louis home field advantage. Well, look at that St. Louis top of the West. I got to text my buddy Moon and mention like, wow, I forgot you guys had a team. And then now, oh my gosh, look, now they're paying attention to playoffs and they're going, what? This was your first year and you overachieved.
I'd say so.
Yeah, but I just want to say a huge shout again to the club and everything that they presented as a product. I had multiple friends experience their St. Louis City SC initial experience, their debut experience this not this last week, but last week, and they all had great seats, of course, but you don't have a bad seat in City Park. And every one of them, these are like peripheral sports fans. Again, they're not diehards. They had one of the greatest sports experiences. I had two different testimonies saying that was the coolest sports experience I've ever had, and it was their first match, St. Louis City SC. Yeah,
the last time we talked, was before that last Derby Q, if you will, part 3, the second match against Sporting Kansas City, or as St. Louis City very strategically calls them, Sporting Kansas. And really the effort and the collaboration that I saw that night was incredible. Obviously, you had the fun tifo, but the thing that really jumped out to me that I thought was really cool was that the tifo obviously had, the Wicked Witch of the West from Wizard of Oz, so on and so forth. But the big thing to me is that the stadium piped in the witch laugh from the Wizard of Oz.
Oh,
and it's
awesome.
that level of coordination that I just don't think you always get sometimes from some of the other major 4 sports. And obviously, I know the club doesn't have anything to do with tifo. And shout out to the organizations that put together the tifos. Those things were incredible this year. In fact, I think it was USA Today did a run through of like all the tifos around American soccer over the last few years. And just one year, City got 2 kind of pictured and talked about in that article because they were so incredible. And I just really think that Sporting Kansas City match is just such an incredible example of everything City's done. You look at, the block parties that they've had, obviously, just holding one out there this last weekend. I mean, everything they're doing is just so special, and it's really been fun to watch it and see everything again. My big things have always been every promise has been kept, and like you said, they've gone above and beyond all expectations.
Yeah, above and beyond with all the experiences. And of course, there's nothing like experiencing it at City Park. If you're able to make one of these matches, it's going to be ridiculous. But I did tell a buddy who said he's going to be tuning in to watch everything they can. I said, hey man, make sure you're tuning in pregame because you never know what you're going to see. But most likely be able to see some of that tifo stuff and some of the experience things, the experiences that are going on for the fans inside the stadium, and it will jack you. It will jazz you up. Maybe not as much as being in the stadium, of course, but I was encouraging him to check that kind of stuff out. Now, you mentioned Sporting KC, and recently they did hit the news because the MLS Disciplinary Committee found that Sporting KC was in violation of what's called the mass confrontation policy in the second minute of their match against Real Salt Lake on October 8th. What that is so Kansas City violated a mass confrontation policy. This was the first time this season, and they were issued an official warning for their actions due to their roles in a mass confrontation. So Sporting KC midfielders Russell, Gutierrez, and Pulido have each been issued an undisclosed fine for inciting and or escalating a mass confrontation up against the referee. So there's a thing about that. You're supposed to respect the captain's armband, whereas the captain is the intercessor for any sort of gripes or complaints on the field. They're the ones supposed to be talking to the ref, not confronting the ref in a a pretty aggressive manner. Listen, I'm assuming when you're wearing the highlighter yellow out there with the whistle and there's 15 players barking at you about a wrong call or whatever the heck it may have been.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
I can imagine that is fairly intimidating. And as we've seen in other leagues that let this kind of stuff get out of hand in other places, there's no place for that here in the MLS. So I guess this is more of a deterrence with the disciplinary committee jumping in and issuing these undisclosed fines and the official warning to the team. So, yeah, they're in the news. Sporting KC, not by beating STL City SC, but because they did a no-no.
Well, let's run with this a little bit, because this is actually fascinating to me, because diving into this, it brings no implication on Sporting Kansas's last match of the season, which is kind of shocking. Usually, when you have a league, you're usually used to in the big leagues, they come down with something like this, usually a suspension, especially when we talk about a league that's with yellow cards, and you get too many yellow cards, then you're suspended, red card. I'm surprised that nothing will affect their last game, because their last game is actually one of the more fascinating ones. And that brings us into our big conversation on this episode, which is going to be kind of the playoff standings and everything. Obviously, if you're a City fan, you've had a lot of fun looking at them at the top of the West. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the implications there. Last time we were here, we actually talked about the potential implications of the overall league standings, because if you do make it to the MLS Cup and you have the best record, it's in your home field. And obviously that's been a big thing for City this year. So to dive into a couple of these standings things as we look at this, the big one is that Orlando beat Nashville last Wednesday when City had their game. And because of that, they guaranteed the number 2 spot overall in the league standings. So there are now 2 squads over in the Eastern Conference that if they make it through and they're playing in the MLS Cup, City will have to travel if they are also making it all the way through. And that's going to be FC Cincinnati, obviously your Supporter Shield winner. And now it's going to be Orlando City, who has topped themselves off with at least 60 points. That puts them out of reach of St. Louis City. But there are some other potential implications. If you look at St. Louis City, and you're going to be looking up at the league standings right now on the right side of this little table here, Philadelphia Union just a point behind, Columbus Crew are 2 points behind, and New England Revolution are 4 points behind. You also see the asterisk there for New England Revolution. New England Revolution, just one of 4 teams in the MLS that still has 2 games left on their schedule. So they're highlighted there because they could still technically win up to 6 more points. That would take them to 58. So St. Louis City SC fails to win their last match against Seattle, they could bump up there. So still, upwards of 5 teams that could jump St. Louis City SC and still, put them in the place where they're playing an away match if they make it all the way to the MLS Cup. Obviously, again, you're number 1 in the West. That's the only round you have to worry about not playing at Citi Field. But nonetheless, by the end of the regular season, there could be a couple more teams above you. Not ideal if you're City.
Yeah, and it's too early to make predictions, but of course all the power rankings and all that kind of stuff is out there. And Cincinnati and Orlando are the only 2 that are power ranked above St. Louis City SC. But this is the exciting thing, and I'm a table guy. I'm not a playoff guy when it comes to soccer, but I will say that watching MLS playoffs in the past, this is where it gets fun, because a team that's run away with the table or a conference in the regular season, can get their butts handed to them by just an on-fire team in the playoffs, and then they're out. They're out first round, second round, whatever it may be. They never find themselves in that MLS Cup final. And this is going to get exciting. And honestly, that's exactly what I hope happens with Cincinnati. We took the absolute wind out of them when we played them here at City Park. I think I might have been with you, but it was so exciting to watch our team, the first team. First season, Cincinnati's never seen them. They've never seen Cincinnati. Go in there. Cincinnati's already in the lead at the time with the Supporter Shield, and we're pretty much the entire season. And St. Louis just, kicked them in the teeth. You know what I'm saying? So I don't see it being unreasonable with Philadelphia Union or somebody like Atlanta kicking them in the teeth and sending them home. I really don't see it being an unreasonable thing to think that could happen. So that home field advantage, it may go all the way to the end. And wouldn't that be a delight to be playing a final here at City Park? It would be so incredible. There's a lot to look out for in the West, though, especially after watching some of that LAFC match these last couple games. And Bouanga is just that dude's a goal machine.
He's a monster. He's a monster.
He can't stop. Speaking of goal machines, I don't know if you were going to mention this. We didn't talk too much about Wayne Rooney this year. He was obviously he was the manager. You know, he was a huge, famous player over in England, English national player. We have Manchester United fame and all that kind of stuff. He coached a little bit over in England. He was a player coach here at DC United. DC United, by the way, was one of the powerhouses. Like, this was like the dynasty in the very beginning of the MLS. And to see that team just kind of become soulless and I guess directionless, the way that everybody talks about how the organization is built in that team. It was no surprise that when they were knocked out of the playoffs, they got rid of Wayne Rooney. It says it was a mutual decision. It was announced right after they won their game. I believe they won their game.
Yeah, they did.
But they were mathematically eliminated from contention here in the playoffs. So DC United's season wraps up right there, and Wayne Rooney is bye-bye.
Yeah, and you're already seeing reports that I think it's Birmingham City is already kind of circling him potentially to bring him back across the pond. Obviously, if you're an English club that's not a Premier League club, I think Birmingham City's in League One right now. I could be wrong about that. But getting that kind of profile, it's obviously a big thing for them.
But is it a surprise? I mean, I feel like every time I would see him on the sideline, and granted, I'm not keeping up with DC United, but like every time I saw him on the sideline, I was like, "Oh, Wayne's still there. Wayne's still there."
It didn't have the impact you thought it did.
Well, I'm not sure. I feel like he planned on being here long term anyway. I mean, because wasn't he at Derby County for a minute? I know he was coaching in England. I think he's been shooting for that this whole time. So this was kind of like interim stuff for him at least. And maybe I'm wrong. I just every time I saw him on the sideline, I was like, "Oh wow, he's still here."
He's just jealous that Frank Lampard got an EPL job right out of the gate.
Oh, gate.
He's still angry about that, and he's like, "Fine, I'll be a boss somewhere, anywhere. Just give me the top job, please." Yeah,
I got to see Chelsea actually at home at Stamford Bridge when Lampard was coaching, and I was more starstruck by him. As starstruck by him, just standing there in his coaching suit, than I was by all the players that were flying around me. It was incredible. Dude, fourth row. You got to come with me next time. I'm over.
Absolutely, I'm down.
Dude, those matches are incredible. Anyways, let's get back to the MLS and all the exciting stuff that's coming up in the next couple months.
Yeah, I just wanted to toss it out there, just throwing up the league standings really quickly, because you can see there's still so much movement. As you can see, pretty much every spot in the West behind City is up for grabs. We have it highlighted there in red. Pretty much every spot's up for grabs, including, again, that 8-9 battle for the wild card. Sporting Kansas City and Minnesota United play each other for the last game of the season, and they could potentially both get to one of them could get to 44 points. Right now, if everybody else loses, that would put them around 7th, potentially not even playing in the wild card. So it's crazy how close the West is. And if you look in the East too, there's still a little bit of fighting for the top 3 or 4 spots. Obviously, that gets you home field advantage in at least the first round. And then there's still a lot of fight for the wild card. Montreal, Red Bulls, Chicago Fire, Charlotte FC, one of the teams with 2 games left on their matches left on their schedule, and New York City FC all sit within a 3-point window of that 8th spot. So there's still a lot of battling going on. Match day 34 is going to be wild, insane. We have some games coming up on Wednesday. That's Charlotte's going to get one of their games out of the way coming up this next Wednesday before we get to match day 34 on Saturday. But man, that match day, from the minute the first game kicks off to the last game, there will be playoff spots switching. As you can see right now, this playoff bracket, I'm going to throw the playoff bracket up right now, Moon. This playoff bracket will not look like this going into the wild card round. I can guarantee you that spots will shift over the last 2 days predominantly of matches. There's really only, there's 3 days left this Saturday, Wednesday, and next Saturday. But that last Saturday is going to be the time everything's going to be jumping around. Everything's going to be switching.
Yes, big decision day. Big decision day. Speaking of decisions, does Messi have decisions to make here since Miami is not going to be in the playoffs? Now, I saw some random thing, and it could have been clickbait or headline. It was talking about like Messi will go back to Barcelona.
That one. Okay. I actually saw one that I thought was pretty, not because of the reporting, but I thought the idea was concrete. Did you see the one about him going back to Argentina?
No. What is this to do? To train with the national team? Is this for vacation?
It's about, no, it's playing finally for the club that he never got to as a senior player.
Oh, I see.
Newell's Old Boys, obviously, famous Argentinian club. Marco Bielsa obviously takes over and turns them into a powerhouse for a little bit there before he becomes a big name. So Newell's Old Boys were his club. He gets scouted by Barcelona, all the HGH treatment because of his HGH disease, brings him over to Barcelona at a really young age. So the thought was he goes to the club he never got to play for as a senior, and he finishes off his career in Argentina, giving his boyhood club this huge boost of prestige and fame for like a year or two. And honestly, Carlos Tevez did that with Boca Juniors. I think that really does make a lot of sense.
Wow, that would be interesting. I am more interested than I thought I would be on where the heck he's going to go and what the heck he's going to do right now. Not that I wanted to face him in the playoffs or any of that kind of stuff, but it would have been cool to see him here in St. Louis for some giant match. I mean, can you imagine if that had happened? City Park, MLS final against Lionel Messi. That would have been.
We didn't get into it. Did you see the price jumps on the Miami season tickets that were announced before the injury and when they were still kind of eligible for the playoffs like 2 weeks ago?
Oh, no, I didn't. How much?
There was some guy who was saying that originally his price jump was $6,000 to $36,000. He called the club and they said, "Oh no, you got charged for double tickets." So it should have been 18, but apparently he's claiming that they were jumping him from like 6.5 to like 18 for his 2 season tickets.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, that's the thing about Messi leaving is that, not only is it season tickets for Miami, but you saw what happened in Chicago when they were trying to get people not to just abandon that match because of the injury. He moves so much money. One more year in the MLS could legitimately, move some things for some of these clubs and some of these teams.
Yeah, I hope for our sake, we get to see a lot more. But you know what? If that's not the case, that's okay. I'm just so happy that he did so much for the league, so much for a team that was like struggling. Took them through that U.S. Cup run and just everything. It was exciting. It was exciting to watch a team that I don't care about, and really wasn't worried about at all. Now, here's a team that I kind of was worried about after last season was Austin FC. I believe that was our home. That was our big opener, our league opener, and they were touted as one of the favorites. I believe one of the 4 or 5 possible favorites because of a heck of a year last year. Although the real pundits now say, "Oh, I knew all along that they weren't going to be nothing because they got this guy who wants to shuffle up the roster and they haven't been strong enough." Listen, they have some real quality players on that team, but they're not in the playoffs either. They were also eliminated. Austin FC down until next season. So yeah, it's gonna be wild. You want to throw up the bracket up on the screen? We can show everybody on the socials and video.
This is going to change a lot, but you can see it right now. St. Louis City being the top spot, they're going to face the winner of the 8-9. Right now, that would be San Jose or Dallas. Obviously, your eyes got to peek up a little bit if you are a City fan because Dallas, that game was odd. It's kind of hard to take a complete conclusion from that one, but nonetheless, Could be Dallas, could be San Jose, and you see the rest of it runs down there. It's going to be a really fun playoff run again, right out of the gate. I mean, this is going to change. At least one or two spots, I think, in the top four of each. The West and the East is probably going to flip around, and I would think it's a safe bet right now to say that at least two of the teams between San Jose, Dallas, Montreal, and New York are in a different spot or not even in the playoffs come the end of 2 Saturdays from now.
The power rankings they have, I mentioned, FC Cincinnati is up number 1. Orlando City SC is number 2. St. Louis City SC is number 3. Columbus Crew is power ranked at 4. We got Houston Dynamo at 5. Philadelphia Union at 6. Atlanta United 7. Now, I feel like Atlanta can be kind of hot and cold here and there. LAFC is 8. We also have Seattle Sounders on the west at 9. 10 is New England Revolution. Nashville SC is 11. Vancouver Whitecaps FC, which we met not too long ago, was 12. Real Salt Lake, 13. Portland Timbers, Real Salt Lake was 13. Portland Timbers were 14. And Inter Miami CF is 15.
I mean, hearing you rattle it off while you're looking at the bracket, it's just, it's an East heavy league in the power rankings. Yeah. The Nashville's the 7th seed right now in the East, and they were what? I think you said they were ranked 10th. So that means there's only St. Louis City, LAFC, and Seattle were above Nashville in the West. So it's a East heavy league, and that'll be interesting to see if maybe City get off a little bit on a lighter schedule than say Cincinnati or Orlando. I guess we won't really know until they're potentially playing in the MLS Cup against each other.
You want to make your fun? You want to put it up there and make your fun predictions and see who gets closer, and we'll write all this down. And
that's going to be a tough one here. I think if you look at this one right now, it's going to have to be. I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with San Jose is going to drop out. Either Kansas City or Minnesota picks up 3 in their match. One of them is going to jump up into that 8 or 9 spot. They'll be facing off in the playoffs. It's going to make it even more interesting because it's going to be potentially Sporting Kansas City or Dallas coming to City Park for that first round. I think that's going to be one of the big changes in the West. And then in the East, that huge pack there at the bottom, I'm going to go big here. I'm going to say we see both of those current wild card teams get flipped out, Moon, right now. Right now it's Montreal and New York, but I think we're going to see Chicago and then Charlotte. Again, you can't forget Charlotte's sitting there with 2 games on their schedule. They can pick up 6 points available. So I think Charlotte's going to pick up at least 3. Maybe they pick up a 4th. Maybe they pick up all 6, and they jump in there. I think we see a big change in that East bracket before all is said and done.
I think you're right. I think Charlotte's gonna make their way in there, and honestly, I think they deserve to. Yes. They've had some ups and downs, but I think Charlotte's a better squad than all those guys. And I think ultimately Cincinnati beats the pants off them anyway. I think we beat the pants off of our wild card opponent, and then it's go time. I'm really kind of bummed that the Union and Atlanta United are facing off early there. I'm bummed. I'm excited because it's going to be a best 2 out of 3 series, so I get to see more matches from those dudes. Because ultimately, I think one of those guys might be the opponent here in a final. I know I'm getting way ahead of myself, but that's the fun of this whole thing.
Well, here's the thing. Union has a tough one against the Revolution, so they might drop that one, whereas Atlanta, again, maybe FC Cincinnati's pulling their foot off the gas. Maybe Atlanta gets an easy 3 points. And taking a look quickly here at the standings, if that happens, Atlanta picks up a couple points. They'd be at 53. So, Philadelphia Union's pretty much in their spot there, but the Revolution could screw things up because they do have 2 games to play and their schedule isn't the most difficult thing in the world. So maybe you get your wish. Maybe those teams both can last till the second round.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I just want to see. I want to size them up. I'm happy about the best 2 out of 3 for that first round. It just gives the coaches, it gives everybody a really good a bunch of film to look at, really. But of course, each team is going to attack their opponents differently depending on strategies and honestly even down to the fields. We have a narrower field than most, so it's going to be different every single round, and that is what makes the playoffs exciting.
There we go, Moon. Well, it's going to be a lot of fun. In fact, speaking of a lot of fun, coming up next on our next episode, we should be talking to St. Louis City head coach Bradley Carnell. Really excited to talk to him about the plan going into the playoffs, about such a successful season. Always fun talking to Coach Carnell, so we hope to be bringing that to you next time on Soccer 101. But this time it was good to be a little pie in the sky, keep the hope running, and talk about some positivity looking at these playoff brackets and standings in the conference.
Yeah, it's nice to be just cruising along with a big old smile going, yeah, here we
Exactly.
are. See you in the
Exactly.
postseason, baby.
Yeah.
So we will see you next week. Thank you for being with us at Soccer 101. It's Moon, it's Matt Rocchio, and we'll just sign you off with a goal!